losing their 8th game in 9 tries dating back to 2012. The Red Sox got into the bullpen early, and the Tribe could use a quality start from rookie T.J. House, who will be making his first start ever in Boston. He matches up with the ultra-competitive Jake Peavy next on Sports Time Ohio. From Fenway Park in Boston, it's Cleveland Indians baseball. Today, the Tribe looking for a win on the road, something that has been elusive to them so far this year. Tribe's lost 4 straight on their current 10-game road trip. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. We know the Indians have had trouble on the road this year. They're just 12-24 away from Progressive Field. But in particular, Rick, going back into recent history, they can't win here at Fenway Park. What makes this park so tough for them?
Well, I'll tell you what, you can give up a lot of runs in this ballpark, and they can find many different ways to beat you. They're playing well at home right now, even though they're at 500. But they find ways to do it. You've got Big Papi, you've got Pedroia, and they come in and they've got the crowd behind them. And the Indians have had their difficulties playing in this ballpark, losing 8 out of their last 9. They've been outscored by a boatload, 62-34. And it's just one of those things. If you go back, you see the ERAs for the pitching staff, both the starters and the bullpen. If you go back to 08, they've lost 20 out of 28 ball games. So it's a tough place to win. You're going to have to come in. You're going to have to score runs. You're going to have to pitch well to try and turn this around, because they have to turn this road trip around that started out very well early.
Scoring runs shouldn't be a problem. Indians are 3rd best in the league in scoring runs, but they've now given up the most runs in the American League as a pitching staff. We'll see if T.J. House can put a stop to the Tribe skid here at Fenway Park in Boston. The play-by-play between the Tribe and the Bo Sox is coming up next. McDonald's, I'm loving it. By your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. By Panini's, get overstuffed at Panini's Bar and Grill. And by Jeep. Visit Jeep.com to learn more. Fenway Park in Boston. Believe it or not, the sun is actually peeking out from behind the cloud cover here at game time today. Indians and the Red Sox getting ready for game 3 of their 4-game series. Well, at least the Indians are loose, having dropped 4 straight on this current road trip. They need a win just to kind of restore their confidence right now. Jake Peavy warming it up for Boston. Here's Terry Francona's starting lineup for the Tribe, brought to you by Progressive. Michael Bourne leading it off. Then it's Asdrubal Cabrera, followed by Michael Brantley, who has 4 hits in the series, including a pair of doubles. Jason Kipnis cleanup, then Lonnie Chisenhall, followed by Nick Swisher, who will DH once again today. David Murphy, Carlos Santana, and Yan Gomes round it out.
Our GMC starting pitcher is Jake Peavy, who is really having an off year. He's 1-4. He hasn't pitched as poorly as his record indicates. He's starting for the 8th time at home. He's still looking for his first win. He's 0-2. He has a total of 8 no decisions on the year. He did start against the Indians 2 starts ago. He took the loss in Cleveland. He went 6 1/3, gave up 8 hits, 5 runs, and also had 3 strikeouts. Let's set the key at defense behind him. It'll be Gomes in left, Bradley in center, Holt is in right, Bogarts at third, Herrera at short, Pedroia's at second, Napoli at first, and Berzinski behind the plate.
Sean Barber behind the plate today. Chris Guccione is at first, Eric Cooper at second, and the crew chief Tom Hallion at third. Ready to go as Michael Bourne steps in for Cleveland. First pitch fouled right back. Swing and a miss. It's quickly 0-2. Up and away. Game time temperature today 74 degrees. Takes a call, 3rd strike. 1 away as Michael now 0 for 9 in the series.
You look at, he was trying to hit that outside corner. You can see almost a perfect pitch right there as Brzezinski frames it for Sean Barber to take a look at. Right on the corner, perfect pitch, strikeout there. Peavy's a guy that will pitch inside as well. He's got that good slider. He uses both sides of the plate. He's a tough competitor. 31 walks this year and 63 strikeouts.
Missed in off the plate. Pulled foul. Jake Peavy came to the Red Sox last year. It was a kind of a wild 3-team, 7-player trade at the deadline. Boston sent Jose Iglesias to Detroit. Avisail Garcia was also part of that trade. And of course, Jake Peavy.
Well, yeah, the 2 guys you just named. Garcia, who's with the White Sox, he's out for the year. He hurt his shoulder, and then you got Iglesias, who's the shortstop for the Tigers. He's got shin problems and issues, and he'll probably miss all year.
Peavy wound up making 10 starts down the stretch for Boston last year, and he pitched in each round of the playoffs. Pitched a game in the Division Series, once in the LCS, and once in the World Series. Cabrera lifts one in the air high to center field. Jackie Bradley Jr. is there. 2 down. Keys to the game brought to you by Akron Children's Hospital. Outcompete Peavy. You know he is an intense competitor on the mound. And for T.J. House. Approach it pitch by pitch with poise.
Yeah, it could be an intimidating ballpark for a left-handed pitcher. Or any pitcher, really, for that matter.
Michael Brantley takes a strike at the knees. Off the plate.
Seems like so far in these first three hitters, he started everybody off on the inside part of the plate and then tried to get them out of the way. Get them looking in.
That ball's hit toward left center field in the alley, but a long run by Bradley takes it away. Nice running catch by the center fielder Jackie Bradley Jr. and the Indians go 1-2-3. The Red Sox are coming to bat. Farrell starting lineup looks like this, brought to you by Toyota. Brock Holt in the leadoff spot. Xander Bogaerts bats second. He homered last night. Then it's Dustin Pedroia. David Ortiz, Mike Napoli, and Johnny Gomes in the middle. A.J. Pierzynski, Jonathan Herrera, and Jackie Bradley Jr. batting ninth.
GMC starting pitcher T.J. House making his 5th career start. This will be the first time he's ever faced a team twice in his early career. He did start against Boston back in Cleveland. He went 5 2/3, gave up 6 hits, 2 runs. He had a no decision. He left leading that ball game though 3-1 with a chance to win, but had a no decision. The bullpen gave up a couple of runs for him.
Brock Holt leading off, one of 4 left-handed hitters in the lineup today for John Farrell. Holt has started all 3 games in the series and all 3 games at different positions defensively, but he's been at the top of the order. Going to start today out in right field. He's gone 3 for 9 against the Indians in this series. And as you see there, the overall average even better against left-handers.
Yeah, he does a nice job against left-handers. He finds a way to get the barrel of the bat to the ball. At least the times we've seen him in Cleveland and here in this series. Uses the whole field. Creates a little energy at the top of the lineup for the Sox.
T.J. House is a guy who, when he's pitching out of the full windup, he can get into a pretty good rhythm in terms of getting the sign and throwing strikes rapid fire. Chop to third base. Chisholm backs up. Fires it across for out number 1.
Let's set the Indians defense. Brought to you by Kia. In the outfield will be Brantley, Bourne, and Murphy. On the infield, Chisholm at third, Cabrera at short, Kipnis is at second, Santana at first, Gomes behind the plate.
Here is Xander Bogaerts. He was mired in a lengthy slump before he homered last night late in the ballgame.
Bogaerts has played well against the Indians so far. He's 5 for 17, and out of those 5 hits, 3 have left the ballpark.
Swing and a miss. And the count is 2-1. Pop back towards us. Well, at least Rosie didn't duck that time.
No, he knew he was going to be on camera. He had to man up today.
He faked it anyway.
Yeah, he did. He knew it wasn't coming close.
Well, Xander Bogaerts with another base hit. Banks one into left field. 1-on-1 out here in the first for Boston now. Let's go down to Katie with him. Katie, even though TJ House grew up in Mississippi, he sort of has a connection to this Red Sox organization.
He absolutely does, and today is a very proud moment for him. He said that his grandfather was a huge Yankees fan, Matt, and one of the reasons he was able to get into baseball, so stepping onto this mound where not many people have been able to pitch off of is an honor for him. He told me he's got to get himself inside that left field scoreboard before he leaves. But what to watch for today, Matt? A slight mechanical adjustment. Mickey Callaway said they worked on his delivery. Less is more today, and that hopefully will improve his command from his last start.
All right, thanks, Katie. Dustin Pedroia drives one deep center field. Bourne back on the track. He makes the catch right at the base of the wall, and that chases Bogaerts all the way back to first. Pedroia gave it a ride, but just shy. If it's off the monster, it's trouble.
Well, it's cut right in that corner there at 379, right where it turns in. And if it was over about another 10 feet, it might have been off the monster. But there you'll see Bourne still had another step to get to that wall. Just another routine out right there in Fenway Park.
David Ortiz steps in now. Yesterday, he was walked 3 times. Once was intentional. You know, you've always said that as a center fielder, you can use the green monster sort of as an ally,
right?
Knowing that anything that hits off of it is going to come back to you, so you can cheat more towards that dreaded triangle. We saw a ball hit into the triangle off the bat of A.J. Pierzynski last night. That's got to be the one spot that you're concerned about as an outfielder here.
That's your triple area, right in that ballpark, in that part of the ballpark. So yes, you want to shade that way, and you can bring your left fielder over with you another 4 or 5 steps if you'd like, because anything down the line is going to be a double anyway. So you just play the odds with certain guys.
Swung out and fouled back.
You know, if you can go get the ball and it's got a little air underneath it, line drives you're not going to catch anyway, no matter where you're playing. But if it has a little air underneath it, you can get a little running time. You can run that ball down in left center field when you're playing over in right center. Plus, you can help Murphy out right where the belly's out, and that's the big part of the ballpark. And also, I mean, at this time of day, at times, although it's a heavy cloud cover, this sun field could be as bad as any in right field. But today, it's not going to be that way because of the cloud cover. But it's peeking itself in and out.
2 down in the first inning, and the 1-2 pitch to Ortiz is a foul right back.
Remember the last time that TJ pitched against the Red Sox, he pitched in and out of trouble in the first 3 innings and then settled down. But this is a guy that had an 11 pitch at bat against him in the top of the 5th that almost wore him out.
Yeah.
But he's going right back at him. He's not messing around.
Little bit outside. 2-2. Overall batting average for Ortiz down this year, heading to 250. But 15 home runs. He's hit at least 15 home runs now in 14 straight years. There's a drive to deep right field. Murphy back. Can't make the play. It's right at the base of the wall. In at third base, Bogarts. They're going to wave him home. Hitting his throw to the plate. Not in time. David Ortiz with a 2-out RBI double gives Boston a 1-0 lead. It's his 10th double of the year, his 41st run batted in.
Boy, that ball, he hit it very hard, and it's right to the base of the wall, and they caught a bad break because it got stuck right underneath the fence. It didn't come off. If the ball comes off to David Murphy, they have a better chance at home plate and Bogarts. But you can see the throw coming in. It's too late because of that ball deadened when it hit the wall. You're going all the way on 2 outs anyway, but Boston's going to play from in front. They'll take a 1-0 lead on the 41st RBI of David Ortiz.
Up comes Mike Napoli. He's swinging the bat much better now for Boston. Had that right field swing going yesterday, drove in a couple of runs. Last night, even though the Red Sox pounded out 10 runs, the only guy who didn't have a hit was David Ortiz.
That was the first time they have scored 10 runs all year long. It took them game number 67 to do that.
Last year at this time, they'd done it 7 times.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to go back to 1943, the last time they've gone this long without scoring 10 runs in a ball game. And guess what? It was the 68th game that year. And they scored 12 in that game. And guess what? It was against Cleveland.
What year was
July
that?
3rd, 1943. So offensively, they've been struggling. But they've won 7 straight games in this ballpark because they've been pitching very well here. 3 runs or less in their last 7 games here. So the pitching's been doing a really good job, and they haven't had to score a whole lot of runs.
3-1 pitch to Napoli, who was really surprised after the ball game last night when he was informed that it was the first time this year that Boston had scored 10 runs in a game. He said, that's pretty crazy.
Well, this has always been a very good ballpark to hit in, and that's why they take advantage of it, usually when they're at home. That's why they're just a 500 club here this year. But as you said, man, he had a nice stroke last night going to right field. He has great power. You know, when he spent those years in Texas, that jet stream going out to right center, he had power. You could just drive the ball that way. And if you hang a breaking ball, he could take it straight away center or pull it.
Ortiz at second with 2 down here in the first inning. Slow chopper to third, and Chisenhall throws him out. A run on 2 hits, 1 man left aboard. David Ortiz gets Boston in front 1-0. to you by your Northeast Ohio Honda dealers, by the Cleveland Clinic. Call today for an appointment today. And by the Northeast Ohio Ford dealers. Boston up to an early 1-0 lead as we roll on to the second. Jason Kipnis leading off for Cleveland, and Jake Peavy delivers a first pitch strike. Jake Peavy is winless at home so far this year, which is in stark contrast to last year when he went 7-0 in 9 home starts between U.S. Cellular Field and Fenway Park.
Yeah, hard to believe, isn't it? But, you know, they only average just a shade over 3 runs a game for support this year for him, which is the second lowest rating among qualifying pitchers.
That's called a strike. Tell you what, the thing I've noticed, Rick, in this series, Red Sox pitchers have effectively nailed the outside corner against Indians hitters.
Yeah. Well, they show them in off the plate at times.
There's a nice job by Kipnis going with that pitch on the outside corner. Big turn at first, but Bradley, boy, he covers a lot of ground in center field. And he holds him to a single. But he got the strike on the outside corner, came back with it. This time Jason said,
well, that was a good pitch, too. If you take it, it's a called third, and Kipnis made the adjustment. He was looking out there, and that's what you call taking what the pitcher's going to give you. He didn't try to pull it, and maybe that 2-strike approach helped him in that at-bat. But, yeah, I know what you're talking. Lackey did it. He was nailing the outside corner.
And whether or not some of those pitches were strikes, they were shooting for that spot, and they effectively stayed out there. And at times they got some calls that might have been off the plate.
Lester was the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys, you're right. They stayed out of the middle of the plate, let's put it that way. The only mistake Lackey made last night was to Santana. It was a 2-0 breaking ball that he left up, and he hit the home run. See, when they miss in off the plate, making the hitter conscious, and then they can go back outside away. But you have to do what Kipnis did. Take that base hit that way, and that'll force him to throw inside a little bit more, and you might get some pitches to turn on.
Fenway Park, because of the ballpark itself, you don't see a lot of stolen bases here. But A.J. Pierzynski is a guy, especially at this stage in his career, that you can run on if you get the jump. Kipnis has 7 steals.
Well, that was their theory when they were in Cleveland, and they were successful, although Pierzynski made a couple of really good throws. Didn't get the calls on a couple of them. They were bang, bang. He made good throws, and he was accurate with them, but you still... And one reason why you don't run in this ballpark, you don't want to make any outs on the bases, because, you know, you get a guy on, you can just pop one out of here, and it's 2 quick runs.
Called a strike, and there's that pitch. Borderline, debatable. Is it a strike? Is it not? You get the call, and that's all that matters. That does not look like a strike.
No, that one was off the plate. He got a break right there. And if you're a hitter, now what do you do with 2 strikes? I'd go right back out there if I was Peavy. And if you're Chisenhall, you have to really, you can't take it.
He does go back out there.
Yeah, and you have to. If he's giving you that pitch 4 inches off the plate, you've got to go out there again. Chisenhall did what you have to do. Just foul it off. That was the exact same pitch he threw the pitch before. Off the plate, that same spot. If he called it once, you would expect he's going to call it again. But as a hitter now, you have to expand your strike zone. Now you get to looking out there, and that's when they can run one inside if they wanted to, too.
Strikes him out. Second strikeout, 1 down here in the second inning. Once again today we are participating in the home run challenge, and today every home run in the game will be worth $14,000 for prostate cancer research. You can make a pledge by going online to homerunchallenge.org. Now here's Nick Swisher. He was 0 for 4 in the series opener. Series opener, of course, featured John Lester, so Swisher was batting right-handed. Just a bit outside. Swung out and missed, and it counts 1-1. Indians began the day 3.5 games off the pace in the AL Central. Detroit leading Kansas City by 1.5 games, followed by Minnesota 3-back, and then the Indians and the White Sox both tied with the identical records, 3.5 off the pace. So still very closely bunched together in the Central Division. Royals out to an early lead over the White Sox, and they've maintained that lead. They're in the 8th inning now, as Swisher drives one to deep right field, and it is going to short hop the wall in the corner. Into third base is Jason Kipnis, and he gets a late stop sign.
Yeah. You see the difference there in the two balls. The one that Boppy had hit the base of the wall and it stayed there. I thought this was going to bounce into the seats. It did not. It hits and it kicks up for Holt over there to get it into his cutoff man in a hurry. He didn't have to go and dig that out. It took a nice hop to him. So it's a tough break. Kipnis couldn't score. They have to hold him up, but they do have runners at second and third now and only one out. For Swisher, that's going to be his 12th double. So back come the Indians.
David Murphy is the batter, 1 for 4 last night, sat out the series opener. And the pitch is low for ball 1. Murphy has been not only the Indians' best hitter in the clutch, but one of the best in the league. 5th best average with runners in scoring position at .370. Off the corner.
Well, he's just got off to a good start this year. Normally he's a slow starter by standards, but not this year. He came into a new ball club and has had some very big hits for the Indians. And he's been great with 2 strikes. Batting average of over 300. He just seems to try and find the ball and put it in play, and a ground ball on the right side will score a run here. 9 out of 10 times. How about that? Less than 2 outs. That's awesome.
He's got the 6th best average in the league with 2 strikes, hitting .309. Infield backs is the name of the game here. Just put the ball in play, which he does.
That's not going to do it, though.
But it's very shallow. And the throw by Gomes is a good one. And there are 2 down. Great clip of the game from yesterday. Came off the bat of Carlos Santana early. Gave the Tribe a 2-0 lead when he jerked the 2-run home run over the bullpen in deep right field. Santana's 8th home run of the season. And now he's up with 2 on and 2 out here in the 2nd inning.
Well, his 8th home run, 6 of those home runs have come on the road, and 20 of his 24 RBIs in the gray uniforms.
Santana with a line drive caught, ends the inning. Napoli made the grab in foul ground, and the side is retired. So the double by Swisher goes for naught, and it remains 1-0 Boston.
Every Indians game with MLB.com at bat on your favorite mobile phone or tablet. You get live look-ins, instant replay, scores, stats, audio, and free MLB TV game of the day and more. Download on the App Store or visit Indians.com today.
Johnny Gomes will lead off the bottom of the second here for Boston. Line drive over the glove of Asdrubal Cabrera. And Gomes has a leadoff single here in the second.
Hit this ball right on the nose. Line drive just over the glove of Cabrera. Nothing he could do. That ball was hit very hard. Couldn't get up any higher than that.
A.J. Pierzynski. Pierzynski with his third team in the last 3 years. And a long run with the White Sox that came to an end after the 2012 campaign. Spent last year with Texas. And now with the Red Sox. Double play ball to Kipnis. He'll go to Cabrera. That'll take care of that potential threat. 2 down. Don't forget to tweet your photos to us using the hashtag STOFanPhoto for a chance to have them shown during one of our telecasts. It's all courtesy of AT&T. Jonathan Herrera, a lone switch hitter in the lineup for Boston. Herrera signed with the Colorado Rockies back in 2002. Spent his whole career with the Rockies until the Red Sox got him this past off season in a trade that had Boston sending left-handed pitcher Franklin Morales to the Rockies to get Herrera. Swung out and missed. T.J. House gets his first strikeout. And after 2 innings of play, it's the Red Sox 1 and the Indians nothing. Boston leading at 1-0. Third inning, Yan Gomes to lead off for the Tribe. Gomes 2 for 6 against Boston so far in the series. And Peavy fires it in there for a strike. Jake Peavy made his major league debut with San Diego back in 2002 in just his fourth big league season, or fourth professional season. The very next year he led the Padres staff in wins and strikeouts. And then by 04 he led all major league pitchers with a 2.27 ERA.
Nice.
Down the right field line, but it's going to slice foul. Year after that, he was pitching in the postseason, made the All-Star team, led the National League in strikeouts. And by 07, he was a unanimous Cy Young Award winner in the National League when he won 19 games and had a 2.54 ERA with 240 strikeouts in 34 starts that year.
Yeah, and when you talk about injuries, had one of the freak injuries too of any pitcher. Ooh, just missed it.
Brushed him back. Yeah, that came a little bit later when he was with Chicago, when he had that detached lat muscle
right
in his right shoulder. Happened during a game. Peavy thought he had strike 3, didn't get the call this time.
Yeah, and that surgery had never been done before on anybody. Here you see him. He throws that one to the outside corner. Thought he should have had one. Didn't get the call that time. That was on the right-hander. It seems like on the left-hander, he's a little more generous to the outside corner.
Gomes tries to muscle it into center field, but it's right at Bradley and away. Injury report brought to you by the attorneys at Elk & Elk. least 3 of the 4 guys here are not on the DL. Just a handful of day-to-day injuries, and Francisco Liriano down for Pittsburgh with an oblique injury. It was D-Day for Stephen Drew for Boston today. They put him through the paces before the game. Ground balls, stretching, batting practice, and John Farrell said if he came through all that feeling okay with no pain, then they would move forward with trying to get him back in the lineup. As Bourne singles into center field with 1 out here in the 3rd inning. If he had any kind of setback at all, then John said likely it'd be a DL scenario for Stephen Drew. So Michael Bourne a little gimpy down there at first base.
Yeah, do you see that back ankle?
Who did we see do that a few years ago? Wasn't it Mike? Was it Michael Brantley that did that in the batter's box?
Might have been in Kansas City, but you could see how he rolled on it. His back ankle after he got that base hit. Look at there, just a little twitch. It looks like it may be all right.
He says he's fine. Yeah, it was Michael Brantley a couple of years ago, and it was the same thing. It was on the swing, on the follow-through, and that back foot would just kind of roll over.
He did that in his first year when he came up. He had some ankle issues. Boy, says I'm all right.
Terry Francona gets a nice hand from the Red Sox faithful here at Fenway as he jogs off the field. He is still very much a beloved figure here in New England. One on, one out is Drupal Cabrera, the batter. He's flied to center his first time up. Cabrera with 2 hits in the series. Both hits were doubles. Cabrera laces a base hit down the right field line. That'll hit up against the wall. Bourne into third. They're going to wave him all the way around. Pedroia's throw to the plate. He is safe. Now going to third is Cabrera, and he's a dead duck. Boy, Cabrera stays at second base. He's still in scoring position with only 1 out in the inning. But he tried to go to third, and he's thrown out for the second out, but the Indians have tied the game. Cabrera with his 24th RBI of the year, his 17th double.
Well, that's a tester for Bourne after walking out and seeing how his ankle is. And Cabrera just tried to get a little too greedy right there. Stay at second base. He hits the double. He's been swinging the bat well. He'll drive home the run, but he gets thrown out trying to stretch it.
So base is empty, 2 down, and we are tied at 1. Michael Brantley, the batter, and he promptly lines one, and Napoli makes another catch on the line to end the inning. Second straight inning, Napoli's caught a line drive to end the frame, but the Indians come back to tie at 1-1. Just a reminder as you enjoy a cold one to stay tuned later in the game for Miller Time. Brought to you by Miller Lite. Turned out to be a beautiful day here at Fenway Park. 74 degrees at game time. Sun making its first appearance of the weekend. Jackie Bradley Jr. lead off for the Red Sox. Drive it into left field. Brantley cuts it off. And Bradley has a leadoff single. Time for a Mazda game break. Let's go back to the studios and Al Pawlowski. Thanks, Al. Red Sox with their leadoff man on here in the third. Now Brock Holt, the ground out victim, his first time up.
Well, Bradley's not having a good year when you look at his numbers, but he's hitting .333 off the Tribe this year.
And he's 4 for 8 in the series. Two and 0 the count on Holt. It's 3-0. Going to walk, and here come the Red Sox right back. Nobody out. Xander Bogaerts, Dustin Pedroia, David Ortiz all due up now.
Well, they walk out, and then, you know, that's the kind of pitcher he has to be. He has to pitch aggressively, but both left-handers get on. And when you look at the splits for House coming into today's game, left-handers were hitting .313 off them, right-handers hitting .310. So you see the two left-handers getting on to start this inning.
Bogaerts singled and scored in the first. Double play ball to short. Cabrera to Kipnis on the first.
Boy, just what he needed.
And the third base goes Bradley Jr., but there are two down in the inning now.
Second double play turn in as many innings. And here's the pitch where it's down, and he tried to pull that ball, and that's the routine 6-4-3 double play. House comes back, kept it at the knees, made him hit it on the ground, and they turn two.
Dustin Pedroia flied to center his only time up. And he looks at a strike in the outside corner. Into the Indians dugout, and I mean they really went flying in different directions. Mike Sarbaugh, his young legs able to get out of the way. 0-2 pitch. A little bit high. And it's tough to throw a pitch high that Pedroia doesn't like.
That's true. I mean, he's not a very big guy, but he can get on top of high fastballs with the best of them.
Folks around here love Pedroia because he's got the World Championships, he's got an MVP award, he's got Gold Glove awards, but he still plays every day all out. In some regards, he's kind of like what Derek Jeter is to the Yankees, Pedroia might be to the Red Sox.
Yeah, he's their heart. He really is.
Never changes who he is based on what he's achieved.
He's the everyday player that goes out on the field every day. Ortiz is the clutch hitter that, you know, can bail him out with some home runs offensively. But this is the guy, when you play and you go out there and play every day. As a manager I once had, Dave Garcia, you said, I'd pay to see that guy play. And not many guys you pay to see play. This is one you will. Because he does. He gives it his all.
And he plays hurt, and that's
both
another
sides
reason
of the
why
ball,
they love him.
Offensively, defensively, he runs everything out. And
line right at Cabrera. Does he catch it on the fly? Yes, he does. And the inning is over. Nice job of pitching out of trouble by T.J. House. He gets a double play ball on a line drive, and we stay tied at 1. One our score as we go to the 4th inning.
It is a nice shot, isn't it?
Jason Kipnis with a base hit his first time up. It's amazing when you come here just to see how many people they move in and out of this ballpark on a daily basis. Not just the fans that come to see the game, but the tours. It seems like they're non-stop. There are groups of people coming and going all the time before the game here.
Well, they have them on the field as they're getting the field ready before game time. They have people taking pictures at home plate, first base, kids putting in the bags and getting pictures all over this place until first pitch.
2-2 the count. And Kipnis with a hard ground ball up the middle. Backhanded by Herrera. The throw, not in time. And Kipnis has himself a base hit, his second of the game. He's 2 for 2, and the Tribe gets their leadoff man aboard for the second time.
As soon as Herrera had to hit the ground, I knew he was not going to throw Kipnis out. If he had to backhand it, he would have had to plant and get up. But as soon as he slides, he's not going to get him, because at shortstop, if you get a guy that's above average speed, you don't have time to get on the ground, get up and throw him out. So Kipnis gets his second hit. And again, his other one went that way as well, toward left field.
Now Lonnie Chisenhall looks at a ball outside. Up and away, 2-0.
I haven't really heard Petey yelling at himself quite yet. I hear a couple of grunts from up here, but I haven't heard him yell at himself and slap himself on his leg like we've seen him do in the past. Might be a calm day today for him.
To this point, still early.
Yeah, that's true.
He only made 50 pitches. And it's 3-0 to Lonnie Chisenhall. He really hasn't come close. Everything missing by plenty. Poured that one over the plate. 3-0. Another strike, a full count. From 3-0 to 3-2. Payoff pitch, hit foul. Hit it hard, but out of play down the right side.
Kipnis got to be off and running here.
Didn't start him the last time, 3-2.
That's surprising.
And again, he holds. It's outside, ball 4. So now the Indians have their first 2 on with nobody out.
All right, fans, come on out, receive an Omar Vizquel replica jersey. That'll be next Saturday when the Detroit Tigers will be in town. You can come out and celebrate the former shortstop's induction into the Indians Hall of Fame that day. Plus, after the game, enjoy Led Zeppelin fireworks. Go to Indians.com for your tickets.
Swisher bunts. Beebe, bare hand grab and throw. He'll get Swisher. But he'll get a sacrifice as the runners go to second and third.
That certainly had to be on his own.
I guess I was surprised just because, you know, he doubled off of him last time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And, you know, Tito's not going to put the sacrifice on here in the 4th inning in a 1-1 ball game. The first 2 guys get aboard. And I don't think you want to give up an out here, but Swisher, he did.
You've got the same situation you had now back in the 2nd inning. David Murphy up with runners at second and third and 1 out. Swing and a miss.
Well, Murph couldn't do it the first time, but when you see the track record, it was 9 for 10. Now 9 of 11. You got to like your chances here.
Rip foul. And the count is 0-2. Strikes him out. 2 down.
Peavy came back, gets his third strikeout. Looked like a changeup down and away. He holds it deep in and into the grip, and you can see the movement. He gets like a circle change. He got Murphy to swing at it. He did get a piece of it, but he goes down swinging. So he's 0 for 2 today with runner on third and less than 2 outs.
Now it's up to Carlos Santana, who hit a line drive into the glove of Mike Napoli to end the second inning. Outside, he missed with it. 1-1. Red Sox shift 3 on the right side. Pedroia's way out into the outfield grass, and now the third baseman Bogarts all the way over to shortstop.
Peavy's been saying, I'm having a tough time seeing your signs. Whether it's a day game, he pointed up and said he can't see him.
Doesn't have the fluorescent fingernails.
No, not on the day game. But he may go get him after this inning and put him on, because now they're going to have a talk. Look, AJ, I can't see your fingers. Just some pitchers have times. There's shadows sometimes at night, but of course this is a day game, and we can certainly see him from the camera, but
hit him. Did it? Yep. Santana will take his base, and they're loaded up with two down. And Yan Gomes is going to be the batter.
They wanted to go in there and got him right in the ribs. It went straight down, so it got him pretty good. That ball goes straight down in there. They've been trying to throw fastballs in, change-ups away to Santana, so he'll take one in the ribs. And now the Indians looking for a key 2-out base hit here from Yan Gomes.
Gomes flying to center, his only time up today, back in the third. Nice stab by Pierzynski. That saved a run.
Look at that ball. That had some run to it. Pierzynski got it right in the webbing. He's saying, whoa, big fella, slow down.
One ball, one strike.
Like a little cutter to the right-hander.
Jason Kipnis, the runner at third base. Lonnie Chisenhall is at second. Carlos Santana down at first. The 1-1 pitch. Inside, he missed. 2 balls and a strike. Gomes with a high fly ball, deep right field, Holt back, and makes the catch on the warning track. The Indians' frustrations continuing to build here in Beantown. They leave them loaded. We stay tied at 1. Al McCoy revisits Jim Bunning's Father's Day perfect game. And what about the Cavaliers and their #1 pick in the upcoming NBA draft? Former Miami Redhawk Alec Martinez scores the Stanley Cup clincher in double overtime last night. It's all on FoxSportsOhio.com. Nobody happier than Court Berry Tripp about that Martinez goal last night.
Oh, yeah.
His fellow Red Hawk.
That's why he was smiling.
Oh, yeah. Bottom of the 4th at Fenway. Game still tied 1-1. David Ortiz, the lead it off. He drove in the Red Sox only run with a 2-out double in the first. Bounce to first. Santana will take it himself. 1 away.
Well, it's another Sugardale Dollar Dog night that'll take place next Friday. Detroit Tigers in town for the weekend, and you can get Dollar Dogs all night long. Visit Indians.com for your tickets.
Mike Napoli, a ground out his first time up. Swing and a miss. And a count 1-1.
He's had a pretty good changeup today. Throwing this one away. And in a good location at the knees.
A little bit long and away. Got him looking. Bottom of the strike zone. Second strikeout for TJ House. 2 down here in the 4th inning.
You throw the pitch away, the changeup away. You end up looking that way as a hitter. You cross him up with a good fastball inside part of the plate with 2 strikes. You know, right there, I'll guarantee Napoli was looking for another changeup away, and they locked him up with a fastball in. Nice sequence there by TJ House.
Now, Rick, today in Chicago, the Royals got home runs from both Mike Moustakas and Billy Butler.
Wow.
And they buried the White Sox 9-1.
They're last in the league when it comes to the home run department, but they had a good day against the Indians when we were there.
Back out of play. How about the Tigers? They scored 7 runs in the 3rd inning at home today against the Minnesota Twins. And they lead that game 7-1. That is some kind of inning.
Well, that's after getting shut out last night. So they got mad.
Victor Martinez homered in that inning for Detroit. He's got 17 home runs now.
Well, that's a lot for Victor, huh? I mean, he's a great hitter, but
17. We're not into the All-Star.
I know it. He's way ahead of pace for him.
Johnny Gomes awaiting the 2-2 pitch. Did he go? He did not. That was close.
Well, let's see what you think. On the side view, no, not even close. He does. When he gets in that batter's box, that body, there's a lot of movement in there, and I think that's what fools you sometimes. You got to look at that side view. He didn't come close to doing it, but just watch all the movement he has in there.
That's foul, third base side.
You know, as hitters, you like to be very quiet at the plate. You don't want your head to move at all because that makes the ball move. But when you have as much movement as Gomes does up there, you've got to be perfect in rhythm.
Tucks on the bill of that helmet like it's going to fall off.
Oh, I know it. I mean, he gets those hands rolling and he goes up and down on that foot.
Behind the bag, long throw for Chisenhall. And how about that? Gomes beat it out. He just flat out outran the play. That doesn't happen very often. He's 2 for 2 now with his 2nd single.
I want to check the jump he got out of the box because you see Chisenhall, he went to the backhand side, plants, and makes a good throw. Santana picks it, but he does beat it out. That's good hustle by Gomes, man. It's a long throw, about as long as you're going to get, but he certainly does beat it out. That's what you get. Run hard. He got a pretty good jump out of the box from the right side, and that's what you do. That's the best he can get down the line. He hustled, and he got the benefit, and he beat out an infield single.
Gives A.J. Pierzynski a chance to bat.
Maximum effort right there. And as a manager, that's all you can ask your players to do. If you hit the ball 4 times a game like that, just give me that effort down the line every time.
Good block by Yan Gomes. 2-1.
Well, you can see Gomes wanted to go, but that caught his bare hand as well. It deflected off his glove and it went in and tipped down off his bare hand to stay in play.
right at the second baseman, Kipnis. Inning over. 4 complete from Fenway. We stayed tied at 1. Brought to you by Sunnyside Toyota, a quarter-mile west of the Great Northern Mall on the North Olmsted Auto Mile. By Levin Furniture. For the best deals on furniture and mattresses, shop Levin's. And by Kia. Visit mykiacleveland.com to learn more. One our score, 5th inning here at Fenway Park in Boston. The top of the order due up for the Indians. Michael Bourne, Singleton scored his last time up. He swings and misses. Bourne 1 out of 10 in the series. In on the grass at third is Xander Bogaerts.
A changeup.
Bourne a 1-out single his last time up and slightly rolled his left ankle coming out of the box.
Well, it was tested quickly after that, wasn't it? Because Cabrera hit a double down the right field corner and he had to score from first base.
Comes back to get him. 4th strikeout for Jake Peavy. 1 down here in the 5th. In-game recap brought to you by your Toyota dealers. David Ortiz in the 1st inning with a 2-out RBI double. Scored Xander Bogaerts from first base, and then Dribble Cabrera double down into the right field corner, and all the way from first came Michael Bourne to score the Indians' only run. Cabrera was thrown out trying to advance to third base after the double.
A lot of changeups now to the left-handed hitters. He didn't give in to Michael Bourne. He stayed with it. That's what he struck him out with.
Cabrera sends a long fly ball deep right field. Holtback on the track makes the catch. 2 down. Boy, oh boy. The Indians have been so close on a number of occasions to poking a hole in this thing, and they keep coming up short. Stat of the game brought to you by Buick. Michael Brantley has hit in 36 of his last 40. Leads the team in homers and ribbies. And seven outfield assists, second best in the majors.
Yeah. You know who has 9 outfield assists is Cespedes. I don't know if anybody saw that throw he made about 4 or 5 days ago.
Well, you know, he had that one, and then the very next night he did it again. He misplayed
amazing.
a ball in the right field corner, and it was
in the left field corner.
A left field corner, and Pujols tried to turn a double into a triple, and he threw him out.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's doing it on purpose. Let me just kick this around and see if they'll keep running.
Well, he did it to the same team. Yeah, that's who he did it to, is the Angels. Matter of fact, the Angels will be back in town when we return home on Monday.
Another 4-game series.
4-game series again. What'll that be, our 6th? I believe.
Swing and a miss. And it's 1-2. Twice in the game, the Indians have had runners at second and third and 1 out. But 0 for 4 in the opportunities to get that run home from third base or get him in. Similarly, the Red Sox are 0 for 3 with a runner in scoring position. Now the 2-2. Hit him. Second hit batter of the game for the Indians. Third time Brantley's been hit, I think, on the road trip.
There's that cutter. He wanted to go in. He got Santana with the same pitch.
If you missed it, here's the Yoenis Cespedes. This is the one. 300 feet, flat-footed to home plate on the fly.
And on the money. That's the great angle right there. That is an unbelievable throw. And then you're saying the next night, same
very
thing
next
happened.
night, watch this. Pujols says, I'm going to go to third.
Don't do it. He had to watch that play the night before. Not even close. Well, he leads the league with 9 assists. And he has a cannon from left field.
That first one, though.
Yeah.
Picks it up. He's flat-footed and throws it to home. Perfect throw. Jason Kipnis lines it over the head of Pedroia. Brantley stops at second. And the Indians trying to do some 2-out damage now. 2 on, 2 out. Lonnie Chisenhall's coming up.
Kipnis 3 for 3. He made an adjustment. Now PVC. Remember I said if you take your base hits away, sooner or later you'll get a pitch inside to hit. And Kipnis in his third at bat did. He got a pitch inside. He could turn on it. That's his first base hit to right, but it comes with 2 outs. So it's first and second now with 2 outs. It gives Chisenhall an opportunity.
Lonnie had a pretty good at bat last time up. Got the count full. Wound up working it for a walk. Just inside. 1-1. Brantley breaks for third. He'll go in with an easy steal.
Because he just felt that Peavy wasn't paying attention to him and just took off. because Kipnis on the back end had no clue he was going to do that, so he's at first base.
Low, 3 balls and a strike. Nick Swisher waiting on deck.
Then he comes back with another changeup. 3-1 count.
Whatever it was on the outside corner. Kipnis goes down and steals second base. And hit his 8th.
Well, I like that now to follow him up on the 3-1 pitch because Chisenhall takes it. And now base hit will score 2.
And the payoff pitch. Pulled foul. We're in the 5th inning. 1-1 score. Brantley at third, Kipnis at second with 2 down. Ronnie Chisenhall awaiting the 3-2 pitch from Jake Peavy. Back out of play.
Well, the pitch before was a changeup away. He got a fastball right down the middle, and he fouled it off. That's something he hasn't been doing a whole lot of. Usually he's been right on the money. I'm talking about Chisenhall with his swing. I don't know if that pitch before that had anything to do with it.
Another 3-2 offering. Pulled it foul. Once again, another 3-2 pitch. And Lonnie reaches out, flicks it to spoil it, stay alive.
Look at that tracker. They've tried everything in this at-bat. Off the plate, in, out, up and down. He is doing everything he can to try and retire Chisenhall, and Lonnie, for the second straight time, is battling Jake Peavy in this at-bat. This will be pitch number 10, and he walked in his last at-bat, so he has seen a number of pitches today from Peavy.
A major league best, 28 runs batted in his last 22 games.
2 more out there. Why not round it off and make it 30?
3-2 pitch.
Good at
Missed outside with a breaking ball, and he walks for the second time today. And the bases are loaded with 2 down for Nick Swisher.
Peavy has 2 walks. Both of them have come to Chisenhall. And I mean, look at, he has to throw that breaking ball away. He threw him everything else in that at-bat. So he tries to come up with a different pitch and say, let's see if he backs off this one. It was off the plate. It was a great at-bat by Chisenhall right there. To end up working the walk, he had to work very hard to get there. And again, now the Indians have the bases loaded and an opportunity here. It's going to take Swish with 2 outs to break through.
Well, let's see if Nick Swisher can deliver. He doubled back in the second inning. Sent Kipnis to third, but the Indians failed to score in that inning. He came up in the 4th with the first 2 aboard and then laid down a sacrifice bunt. But that did not lead to any runs either. Fouls the first pitch off. career grand slams, 271 average. Indians, for the most part, have been very good this year in bases loaded situations. And he does not like the call. And I'm sure he let Sean Barber know it.
Yeah, that ball did look down and away, but he gets the call. So he's going to take a little stroll.
As a team, the Indians batting .389 with the bases loaded this year. Upstairs. Indians about hit Boston 6-5. But they need one more big hit to take the lead. Big ground ball hit the second. Pedroia will throw him out. Indians leave him loaded for the second time today, and they cannot get a hit when they need it most. Jonathan Herrera, Jackie Bradley Jr., and Brock Holt all due up for the Red Sox. Tried to bunt it, but he fouled it into the glove of Yan Gomes for strike one. Good pitch. Gets ahead, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Right back.
The Red Sox have had a hit in every inning. They had 2 in the first inning. But the double play ball has been big for House.
To center field, where Michael Bourne will make the catch. TJ has done a nice job of pitching to contact. Make him put it in play.
Well, there was a good pitch on a strikeout down and away. Then he gets Brzezinski to roll over on one to get the 4-6-3. And then he gets another 6-4-3. That was the big double play right there going into the big part of the lineup. And then a low fastball locked him up inside. Well, he's had a couple of strikeouts and a couple of double play balls that have played very big here for TJ House this afternoon.
Bradley singled to left back in the third inning. One to count as you look at the line for TJ House. High pop, shallow center. In comes Michael Bourne. He's got it again. 2 away.
Well, the Indians will host Miguel Cabrera and the Tigers next Friday, and fans can enjoy the fireworks. That'll be to the music of Nirvana. It's Friday night, and plus Rally Alley will be up and running. A lot of fun, action, music, games, family-friendly pregame option. Visit Indians.com for your ticket details.
Brock Holt has grounded out and walked today. Weak ground ball. It kicks off of House. And Holt's going to beat it out. I'm not sure if TJ would have let that go. I think Kipnis was right behind him to make the play.
Yeah, the reaction there, he couldn't get his glove down quickly enough, and it deflected, I think, off his foot. And once it did that, Holt gets down the line pretty well. You can see Kipnis. I think you're right. He would have been there. Had to change directions.
What? They gave him an error?
Are you kidding?
They gave TJ House an error on that.
Wow. That'll probably get changed, I would think. Wow.
Rip foul. And the count is 0-2 now on Xander Bogaerts.
Got it.
Santana will throw down to second, and the ball gets by Kipnis.
Well, I didn't know if they'd send him with the left-hander, figuring because you got Bogaerts. I don't know if the ball hits him and it gets by Kipnis or the throw. Let's check it out from this angle. He run on the inside, which he should. All right, it hit him in the hip. So the throw didn't get to Kipnis. Goes off the runner.
Stolen base for Holt, and he's in scoring position with 2 down. Count is 0-2 on Bogaerts. And that's going to find its way to the seats. Bogart singled and scored the only run for Boston way back in the first when he came home on a double by David Ortiz. And the Red Sox caught a break on that play because the ball Ortiz hit at the base of the wall and it kind of stopped. There was no carom to be played. Conversely, when Nick Swisher doubled in the second inning, Kipnis couldn't score from first because the ball hit squarely against the wall and ricocheted right back to Holt in right field, and he was able to make a good throw in to keep him from scoring. So
tale of two bounces.
Yeah, sometimes that's baseball. Sometimes the way the ball bounces.
And that's the unique thing about the old parks, like this park right here. The nooks, the crannies, the angles.
There's just a little bit of a lip at the bottom of that wall.
Right.
One and two to count on Bogart's 85th pitch of the day for TJ House. Upstairs with it. Well, from 0-2 to 3-2. Swing and a miss. He tied him up and strikes him out. Third strikeout of the day for TJ House. And the Red Sox strand a runner in scoring position. We stay tied at 1 through 5. Our AT&T fan photo of the game. Tweet your photos to us using the hashtag STOFanPhoto for a chance to have yours shown during one of our telecasts, courtesy of AT&T. David Murphy going to lead it off for the Tribe. He's 0 for 2 today. Uncharacteristically, Murphy is 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position in both of his at-bats. Flies out here, 1 down. Carlos Santana coming up now 0 for 1 here today. Homered yesterday against the Red Sox. And with more on Santana and his resurgence since coming off the DL, here's Katie.
Ty Van Berkeley, the Indians hitting coach, Matt, said that he thought that short break was very good for Carlos Santana. Really enabled him to slow down the game. They've seen the improvement mostly in his lower half. You'll notice a more controlled leg kick, which has resulted in better timing. The one thing they're still working on, finding a consistent shorter swing.
Yeah, instead of trying to pull a ball, stay into the middle part of the field a little bit more.
Activity in the Boston bullpen as Santana yanks one down into the right field corner. He's going for second base. He'll go in sliding with a one-out double.
It's the third double now for the Indians this afternoon. He got a nice pitch to hit right there. Peavy made a mistake, and he's able to turn on it. That's 7 hits now for the Tribe. Another runner in scoring position for them. Santana, his 8th double this year.
Indians 0 for 5 with a runner in scoring position to this point. Left-hander Craig Breslow getting loose for Boston in the bullpen. Peavy, as you see in the bottom left of your screen, zeroing in on 100 pitches for the day. And a high pop up behind the plate over near the Boston dugout. Napoli can't make the play. He got close with the glove out, but he couldn't come up with it. And that gives new life to Yan Gomes.
Well, that had some hang time, so that's a break right there. I know you got to get over there as quickly as possible, but he sensed he was getting near the stands, and then he just stops. He had one more step he could take, but you know, as I said, you're looking up into that sunshine. It's awfully tough to take your eyes off, pick up where the stands are. You know you're getting close. You can just feel it, and that field sort of shapes that way. It goes down for drainage.
Yan Gomes drove a ball to deep right his last time up, but it died on the warning track. Pops it up again.
It's going to give him
foul
another
territory.
chance.
Napoli to the tarp, and he can't get to it.
See, I watched him this time, and he doesn't get over there first and then try and pick the baseball up. I mean, look at him tracking. This is what you call like gliding. And then that one was not going to be catchable. That wind may have pushed it out a little bit. But boy, if anything, and you're an infielder, you have to get to the seats and then look up and try and find it again. The sooner the better.
Meantime, it's 0-2 on Gomes. Strikes him out. 5th strikeout of the day. 2 down.
He throw him a changeup from the right side. The right-hander throwing that right-hander a changeup, and you can see the movement he has. He's got excellent movement on that changeup, and he's used it a lot. Not just to left-handers. He's used it more to left-handers, but he gets Gomes right there, his 5th strikeout.
Michael Bourne is 1 for 3 in the afternoon. He singled and scored back in the 3rd inning. Sandwiched in between a couple of strikeouts. But that single is only hit in the series. Bourne has batted .310 with runners in scoring position so far this year, as he tries to break the 1-1 tie.
Looking for that one hit with a runner in scoring position. They've left 8 stranded to this point.
But even a hit to left wouldn't guarantee the job getting done here.
Yeah, not in this ballpark.
We know Bourne likes to take the ball to the opposite field.
Well, now he can be a little selective on what he's looking for here in a 3-0 count.
Pedroia goes to a knee, scoops it up, throws him out. Another runner stranded in scoring position for Cleveland. We'll go to the bottom of the 6th, still tied at 1. His day is over. Meantime, TJ House will try to work through the bottom of the 6th inning and keep this a 1-1 game. Indians bullpen is quiet at the moment.
Well, first time through the lineup, the Red Sox went 4 for 9. The second time through, they were just 1 for 8. So he's starting the 3rd time through, and they are 0 for 2 to begin with. And he's going through the big part of the lineup here.
Dugout.
Wow.
Somebody is hurt down there behind the dugout as Pedroia looks over in concern. High drive. Deep into that triangle. Bourne racing, can't get it. And he slams into the wall. It'll be a ground rule double. Bourne threw up his hand to tell Murphy, I've got it, or at least I'm going after it, but he never got to it.
Well, you can see the carry, and that's the part of the ballpark, Matt, that we're talking about, that you can shade that way. You see, he had him shaded over to left center field, and that ball just had some carry, and he hit that wall pretty good. If it stays in the park, it's a triple, but it bounced over the fence, so it's a ground rule double. But that ball just seemed to keep going, and Bourne, I think, thought he had it when it was originally off the bat, because I saw the same thing you saw. He waved him off. He was going to get it, but that's the dangerous part of the ballpark here in Boston. So Pedroia gets his 21st double.
And now Pedroia has gone over to third base, and he's still concerned over the fan who was hit by the foul ball that he hit into the seats. I think he's checking.
Oh, there he is.
It's a young fan right there that took it off the cheek.
Well, that's a tough kid.
Yeah, he is.
Not much you could do about it. You couldn't get out of the way of that one.
Mickey Callaway's visit is over. David Ortiz coming up. And then he goes right at him with a strike. Shot for the outside corner and came up a little bit wide of the mark. 1-1. Oh, he didn't mean to, but he bounces it up the middle. Cabrera with a terrific off-balance throw to get Ortiz. That's the first out in the inning, but the go-ahead run, Pedroia moves to third base now.
Yeah, that was an excuse me swing. He didn't mean to swing it, but I mean, it's effective. Once it gets over the head, Cabrera's got to come to make a nice play, but not before Pedroia can get to third base. They get the first out, which is okay, and they will bring the infield in with Napoli hitting.
And they'll go out to talk things over. The young fan with an ice pack. He's headed for a little medical evaluation. The fans giving him a big round of applause. Meanwhile, here comes Terry Francona. Looks like he's going to make a move. He's got a right-hander up in the bullpen, and looks like John Axford. That's going to be it for T.J. House. Time now for the Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen. It's a 1-1 game here in the bottom of the sixth. Red Sox have the go-ahead run 90 feet away, and now John Axford coming in for Cleveland. Derek Jeter will take the field in his final All-Star game. It's the All-Star game in Minneapolis. Coverage begins 4:30 on Fox Sports 1, followed by the game itself at 7:30 only on Fox. Mike Napoli going to bat for Boston here with the go-ahead run 90 feet away and 1 out. John Axford on for the Indians to try to hold the Red Sox at bay. 31st appearance for Axford. Napoli 0 for 2 here this afternoon.
Indians will bring the infield in. Try and cut the runoff at home plate. TJ House, a nice start today for his 5 1/3 innings. Gave up 6 hits. Struck out 3 and walked 1.
In the dirt for ball 1.
His last 8 games, 11 strikeouts and no walks, which is a good sign.
He's 2-0 though to Napoli. Checks on a ball up high. 3 balls, no strikes.
Gomes is the on deck hitter. You certainly don't want to groove one here. Napoli, a guy I'm sure they would give the green light to. Look for something he can hit in the air.
He did, but he fouled it back.
There's no doubt. Boy, you get a guy like that, go ahead and give him the green light.
John Farrell's club struggling offensively all season long. Scored 10 runs yesterday for the first time this year. A season ago at this time, they'd already done it 7 times. They would go on to do it 20 times before the season was over. Swing and a miss. Axford has run the count full now at 3-2. For all the power that Mike Napoli possesses, he's hit 30 home runs in his career. He's never driven in 100.
You know, he's a guy that can swing and miss a lot.
The pitch. Outside. He draws a walk. Time for another Mazda game break. Here's Al Pawlowski. All right, thanks, Al. Johnny Gomes has 2 hits on the day. A line drive single to left in the second, and an infield single behind the bag at third, back in the fourth. Now the infield back double play depth. They hold Napoli at first. Down low, ball 1. Fouled right back. Last year when Gomes came to Boston, It was his 4th team in the last 3 years. Previously he played for Cincinnati, then Washington, Oakland, and then Boston, and back again this year. Double play ball to short, maybe. Cabrera to Kipnis on the first, not in time. The Red Sox take the lead. Johnny Gomes, for the 2nd time today, simply out-hustled the ball. And that gives Boston a 1-run lead.
You look at it, it looked like it was going to be a double play ball off the bat. Cabrera gets it over to Kipnis. And Kipnis just a little tardy at first base. Gomes beats it out, and that is the go-ahead run, makes it a 2-1 game.
Well, give Napoli credit. He went in hard. He took out Kipnis' legs. He just didn't get a lot on the throw.
That run will be charged to House.
A.J. Pierzynski 0 for 2. Swung on and missed. Boston up 2-1 now. Gomes picking up the RBI, his 25th of the year. Pierzynski swung out and missed. And a count 0-2, or 1-2 rather. Strikes him out, ends the inning. But the Red Sox take a 2-1 advantage as we go to the 7th.
Local apparel company GV Art and Design. That'll take place Wednesday when the Angels and Mike Trout arrive in town. They're in for a 4-game series. You can visit Indians.com for your tickets.
Craig Breslow, new pitcher now for the Red Sox, takes over for Jake Peavy. Well, thanks to Johnny Gomes, Hustle is in line for a victory if the Red Sox hold on.
Yeah, Peavy scattered 9 base runners. The Indians had left on base. Couldn't come through with the big hit. They're going to see if they can get to their bullpen.
Dribble Cabrera. He'll lead it off. He's 1 for 3. He drove in the Indians' only run today. Up the middle. Diving stop by Herrera. Gets up and throws, and Napoli couldn't come up with it. So Cabrera's aboard to start the 7th inning.
Well, I'll tell you, Cabrera has swung the bat very well this whole series, and he finally gets a break here. Here's another diving play. Herrera just couldn't get it there because he realized he had to get up quickly, and Napoli doesn't pick it to help him out. So Cabrera will end up with a nice base hit. We'll get the leadoff man aboard.
So Michael Brantley will bat here, 0 for 2 on the day. Was hit by a pitch his last time up. Indians with their 8th hit of the day, now their 9th as Brantley lines a single to right field, and Cabrera hits the bag at second, turns and burns for third. He's in safely, and the Indians have runners at the corners with nobody out. I'm not sure, Rick, that Cabrera wasn't playing a little possum-y. He didn't go into second with a full head of steam, but as soon as he hit the bag, he put the hammer down.
A lot of times if you're a base runner, sometimes you'll want to make that guy think you're pulling up. I want to take a look at it here, and he's going to, well, he looked over at his third base coach. Sometimes you'll try and decoy that. He's not a regular right fielder, so there's no sense. Why not run out? Force him to make a good throw here. He's a third baseman. He's played first. He's played left. He's played all over. So they do force him to make a good throw, and they'll have runners at the corners.
Jason Kipnis is having a terrific day at the plate. He has singled all 3 times. And a chance to tie it up if he can get that run home from third. This is where the Indians have had their struggles today. 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position. Swung out and missed. It's 1-1. The inside almost hit him. And it's now 2-1. Kipnis has been able to come through 6 out of 9 times as far as getting that runner home from third. Well, right back. Evens the count, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Well, Kansas City took the pummeling Chicago earlier today, 9-1 at U.S. Cellular Field. And Detroit is doing the same thing to Minnesota. They lead the Twins 10-1 at Comerica Park there in the 6th inning. The 2-2 upstairs and a full count. Well, interesting situation here, Rick. Do you start your runner at first base with a guy who's 3 for 3?
Not with the left-hander on the mound. I wouldn't. You got to make sure he throws, and if you got to wait that long, you won't get a good jump.
Kipnis slowly chops one to second base. They're going to come home with the throw, and they got him. Oh, now they call him safe. He dropped the ball. Well, the Indians catch a break, and they tie the game at 2. A gutsy play by Pedroia to come home with the throw, but he made a perfect throw. It's just that Pierzynski couldn't hang on to it.
How about that? He was called out, and then you've got to hold on to it. It was. He felt he wasn't going to turn 2. So let me go to the plate, and there it is. He's out, but he doesn't have the ball.
He never caught it.
Nope. He was rushing. He went to the backhand side and never had it in his glove. It dropped out, but he was out. The umpire, he called him out, not realizing that the ball was on the ground. So that'll be a fielder's choice. Give the RBI to Kipnis.
So a tie ball game 2-2, and it wasn't a perfect throw. I thought it was a better throw when I first looked at it, but he had to reach back for it.
He had to throw it. He had to get rid of it in a hurry. He realized he wasn't going to turn a double play there, I think, and that's why he decided to come home.
Lonnie Chisenhall looking to maybe lay down a sacrifice bunt, pulls it back and takes ball 1. They don't give the RBI to Kipnis. They're going to call it an error now on Pierzynski. Chisenhall trying to execute the bunt, fouls it up the third base line.
You don't have to be perfect here. You got a couple of good base runners out there. Sarbaugh just going to walk in and talk to Chisenhall. He's not going to put the sign on. He'll know what he wants. Got a lot of movement on the infield too.
I wouldn't mark that down in ink. The official score has already changed his decision from earlier in the game.
I know, with that ball on House.
Yeah. Missed outside. Lonnie not showing bunt that time. And it counts 2-1.
And I think that's where Sarbaugh came in and said, look, they've got guys running all over the place. Just stay back, and if you get a pitch, just drive it through the infield.
The way he's been swinging the bat, hallelujah. Lonnie pulls it foul. Might have cracked his bat.
He sure did.
I don't know if he's got any left. Oh, he might have got a new shipment in. Either that or he's into the Michael Bourne stash. That might be one of Michael's bats he's using now. Or Michael Brantley, excuse me. He said he was going to try some of the bats Brantley was using because he said, quote, they seem to be working pretty good for him. Lonnie only had a couple of bats on the trip to start out, and he had that historic night in Arlington in the Hall of Fame called wanting his bat. He pops this one a fairly deep left, but Gomes able to get back and make the grab. Runners hold, one away. Up comes Nick Swisher. Swisher doubled his first time up. He laid down a sacrifice bunt in the fourth and then grounded out with the bases loaded and 2 outs to end the 5th inning. Funny how the game can change so quickly. This road trip began the Indians. It seemed like every time they swung the bat in Texas, they scored a run. And they went to Kansas City, and their offense has been on ice since then.
Yes, it has.
Boston yesterday rattled off 10 runs. Now here today, just one day later, they're having a tough time getting anything going. Swisher lines one to center field, but it hangs up, and Bradley makes the grab. 2 down. Well, that'll leave it up to David Murphy. He's already had 2 at-bats today with 2 runners in scoring position each time. This time he'll bat, and both of those at-bats came with, let's see, one came with 1 out, one came with, yeah, both times it was with 1 out. This time he's up there with 2 down. Two and 0 the count.
Yeah, Murphy's due. Get him with 2 outs. Those are the ones that hurt more.
Three and 0 the count. And you got the switch hitting Santana on deck. Action in the Boston bullpen. They've got Tazawa up. We'll see if they go to him or Santana, or if John Farrell prefers to see Santana bat from the right side.
Well, he didn't want much to do with Murphy right there, and John Farrell's going to go back to his bullpen.
He wants Santana to bat from the left side of the plate. So we've got a timeout. Indians have them loaded with 2 down here in the 7th inning and a 2-2 tie. By Miller Lite. Jason Kipnis is having a good day early. Took a pitch on the outside part of the plate, wrapped it for a single. Same result his second time up, an infield hit. Then he got a pitch to pull. He yanked it into right field. Perfect 3 for 3 to start today. Now on to pitch for Boston, it's right-hander Junichi Tazawa, 32nd appearance of the year, 1 win, no losses, ERA .225.
Came on in Thursday night's game, and he faced 1 batter, which was Santana, and he was able to strike him out.
The Indians are 0 for 2 today with the bases loaded. Their third opportunity comes with 2 down here in the 7th inning, and Carlos Santana, the batter, 1 for 2 with a double.
Brzezinski held that ball for a long time.
Looking at the base runners, Brantley, Kipnis, Murphy.
Take a look at it again. Well, it certainly had plate.
Santana beats it into the ground, foul. One ball, 1 strike. Outfield really pulled around for Santana. Bradley in right center. Holt deep in right field. Two and 1. 7th inning, tried with a run in. Bases loaded, 2 outs. They've counted up 9 hits now in the game. But still hitless with runners in scoring position. That's what they are looking for. And that missed. Again, Brzezinski trying to frame it and bait the umpire, but nice.
You watch it, he's sitting away, and that gets played. But I mean, a lot of times when you're sitting out and you bring that the glove back, you don't get the call. So Santana's sitting in a pretty good position here, 3-1.
Zawa ready with a 3-1 pitch. Ball 4, and the Indians take the lead. Michael Brantley, come on down. Santana picks up RBI number 25 with the bases loaded walk. And now, Yan Gomes, the batter.
Well, this is an inning working out very well for the Indians, considering the first 2 guys got on with singles. Then there was a fielder's choice that ended up scoring a run on the error by Brzezinski, and then a bases loaded walk.
Gomes, a wicked cut, but he found it right back. Gomes ready, awaiting the 0-1 pitch. And it's right there for a strike. Nothing into the pitch.
A base hit here would give that dugout a huge lift. He's going to have to work hard being down 0-2.
Zawa delivers, and he strikes him out. Indians leave him loaded. They still don't have a hit with a runner in scoring position today. But now they have the lead, 3-2. Time now for the 7th inning stretch, brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. Life is hard. Bye. Three-two Tribe on a beautiful day in Boston. Check out Fenway Park from our Panini's Overstuffed cam. Bottom of the 7th inning. Number 8 hitter will lead off for the Red Sox, Jonathan Herrera. John Axford stays on to work for Cleveland with action in the Indians bullpen. Herrera, Bradley, and Holt due up for Boston.
The Indians were able to answer that one run in the bottom half of the 6th by Boston.
Nice curveball from John Axford. That's a pitch that he hasn't really been able to throw consistently for strikes. But when he has that pitch, it's a difference maker for him.
I'm sure it is, because they just can't sit on that one fastball. And, you just wonder sometimes if he overthrows it. You see Shaw and Crockett in the Indians bullpen.
Well, Rick, I almost think it gives him confidence in his fastball when he knows he's got the breaking ball.
Very well could, because you go out there, you have 2 weapons. It's always good. Take the hitters off your fastball and keep them honest. That was a good fastball there.
Asdrubal Cabrera going to throw him out, one away. Callaway going over the matchups with Terry Francona. And it looks like Terry's coming out.
Yes, he is.
He's going to go to his left-hander, the young Kyle Crockett, will get the call here with 1 out in the 7th inning, and the Tribe leading it 3-2. Time, Ohio. Jimmy will bring you highlights from the U.S. Open at Pinehurst, also known as the Martin Keimer Show. He'll take your calls, give you great tips on how to help your game. It's all tomorrow night, 8 o'clock on the Golf Zone. Kyle Crockett, 5th appearance of the year. Got a couple of left-handed hitters to face.
That's what he's looking for, that left-hander to get the 2 left-handers out. That took place in game number 1 of this series, and it didn't happen. And that was the difference in the game. And Hagedorn was up here, had a chance to get the 2 lefties out.
And these were the guys, weren't they?
Yes, they were. Walked Bradley on 4 pitches and gave up the double the hole.
Ball 1 from Kyle Crockett. Foul right back. Pulls it foul. 1 ball, 2 strikes. A little bit too high. Swing and a miss. Crockett strikes him out. 2 down here in the inning. That's what you're looking for from your left-hander out of the bullpen.
Well, this is going to be our McDonald's on below. He comes right back with a fastball. He didn't give in. Throws a fastball by him. He got Bradley to swing and miss. Gets the 2nd out of the inning.
And now Crockett with 2 down will face Brock Holt, who was 1 for 2 with an infield single back in the 5th. It was originally ruled an error, but later changed. For a young player, Holt's shown a pretty good discipline at the plate too.
Yeah,
a lot of chase a lot of bad.
A lot of young guys. You're right, man. They like to go after that first fastball they see and get aggressive. But he has been patient.
Swung on and missed. And the count now 2-2. After falling behind him, Crockett going back with a couple of really good pitches. Fouled right back. Now, is this the difference between a position player and a pitcher? Both these guys, Holt and Crockett, both have the New Balance baseball spikes. They feature the white laces, but the white laces on Brock Holt's shoes are pretty beat down. But look at those on Kyle Crockett's are nice and bright, and you can see them from a mile away.
Well, it could be.
He's got dirt on his. They're all beat up. Pop down the left field line. Slicing. Fair ball. Down into the corner. Brantley digs it out. And Brock Holt just flicked it down that left field line, and it stayed inside the line. And they've got a 2-out base runner in scoring position.
Yeah, you're right. He just stayed on it. That ball was running away, and it goes down the line, and his day will be over. You can see him stay out there on his toes to go hit that ball. Just got inside the line. You can see where it hit in fair territory. His 11th double. Francona comes back out, and he's going to go to Shaw to face the right-hander, Bogaerts.
So Kyle Crockett's day is over, and we've got a timeout here in the 7th. 3-2 Cleveland. Sox have the tying run in scoring position with 2 outs here in the bottom of the 7th, and Brian Shaw coming on for the 34th time this year. Only his teammate Mark Zubczynski has appeared in more games in the American League. In fact, in all of baseball, Zubczynski has pitched now in 35 games. Shaw to face Xander Bogaerts. And first pitch strike. He checked. It's a little bit high. Now the 1-1. Swing and a miss way out in front.
Yeah, good breaking ball there by Shaw. This thing has a lot of movement to it. He took something off, and you could see the swing right there by Bogaerts. Had him out in front. Took a lot off of that breaking ball.
Slow chopper. Brock Holt, the tying run in scoring position for the Red Sox. Runner goes for third. Big chopper to third. Lonnie Chisnall's there. He'll set and throw. And the inning is over. So a nice job by Brian Shaw in the Indians bullpen. They keep the Red Sox off the board. Tribe stays in front by a run. Cleveland Indians and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians. Stay tuned for Indians Live, brought to you by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. It's coming up next, right after the ball game here on Sports Time Ohio. For Cleveland, top of the order here in the 8th inning. Bourne, Cabrera, and Brantley. Junichi Tazawa, who got the final out of the 7th inning, will stay on to work here in the 8th. Even though the run was not charged to him, it was a bases loaded walk issued by Tazawa that has the Indians in front 3-2.
Yeah, they have another left-hander, Andrew Miller, up in their bullpen.
Bourne, a little bouncer to first. Napoli takes it himself, 1 down. In-game box score brought to you by your Hyundai dealers. Asdrubal Cabrera doubled in a run early in the ball game and scored a run that tied the game in the 7th. Michael Brantley has a single and a run scored. That's the go-ahead run in the ball game. Jason Kipnis was 3 for his first 3 to start out. And it was Carlos Santana who drew that bases loaded walk that put the Indians in front. Bottom line is sometimes you have to win low-scoring games. That's just the nature of the beast. But if not for the outstanding pitching today by T.J. House, John Axford, Kyle Crockett, and now Brian Shaw, we'd probably be talking about the fact that the Tribe is 0 for 10 with a runner in scoring position today.
Well, yeah, yes, you would. But they're leading with an opportunity. Love to add on. Still see out in right field where they're still blocking their eyes for that sunshine. That's the only position, really.
Normally, we'd be just getting ready for a 7 o'clock game. These 4 o'clock games seem to throw everybody off.
Yeah, it's difficult sometimes to see.
Cabrera strikes out, 2 down.
Now let's look at the pitch from Tazawa. Good pitch down the way. Looked like a little changeup. Has Cabrera out in front.
John Farrell had his left-hander up in the bullpen. He's going to let Tazawa stay on and face Brantley here with 2 down and nobody out. Brantley lifts a base hit into left center field. Time now for our Here Right Audiology Sounds of the Game. Jason Giambi on Michael Brantley.
Well, there might be a batting crown in that career somewhere, because the at-bats he takes night after night are incredible. You know, he doesn't give any away. He hits hard line drives day in and day out. It's fun to watch. Sit back and watch him take an at-bat every night. He's going to keep growing. I mean, his ceiling is limitless. I mean, he's starting to figure out how to hit with power. He plays incredible defense, throws guys out at second. But the biggest thing is he's turning into a leader now for this ball club, and I think that's what this ball club really needs.
I think two things that I take away from the comments of Jason Giambi. One, the quality of at-bats that Brantley has and the consistency with which he has them leads him to believe that someday we could be looking at a guy who would challenge, if not win, an outright batting crown. And hey, he's in the mix this year. He's in the top 10. He has been all season long. And two, Rick, the fact that he's emerging as a leader, not a rah-rah guy, not a guy who's going to beat his chest, but now when Michael has something to say, everybody sort of leans forward in their chair to listen.
Well, he leads by example. He goes out there, he plays every day, and he plays the game the way it should be. He's just getting more confidence. He's starting to know the pitchers around the league. He's starting to know what guys are trying to do to him, and it's all part of becoming a major leaguer. I can see what Giambi says. He's right there, and he definitely can be a league leader of some kind. How about the RBIs he's doing this year? He ended up taking over the number 3 hole when Kipnis went out, and he didn't relinquish it. Tito says, I got to keep him here. He was the floater last year in this lineup where whenever you needed a guy to hit in that lineup, he put him anywhere. From 1 to 8 or something like that?
He didn't bat ninth. That
right,
was the only spot
1 to 8. So this guy, he's a middle of the order hitter for you for a long time.
New pitcher for Boston is the left-hander Andrew Miller. He'll be coming on here to face Jason Kipnis.
Yeah, John Farrell had him up, and once Tazawa got the second out and got Cabrera, he says, well, I'm going to give him a chance to get Brantley out. Well, it took one pitch, and then he had the left-hander ready, and he's got him ready for Kipnis, who has 3 hits on the afternoon. Last time up, it was his ball that was hit to Pedroia at second base, and Pedroia didn't think he could turn the double play, so he came home, and that's how the Indians tied the game, because Brzezinski dropped the ball. It was on a backhanded side. It wasn't an easy play for Brzezinski to catch that ball and come over and tag, but it just never stayed in his glove, and they tied it at 2. And then they were able to get that other run with a bases-loaded walk to take a 3-2 lead.
So now Kipnis stands in. Kipnis takes aim against Miller. And it's over for a strike. This was the big play in the ball game. Pedroia coming home. And he called him out because, like myself, I thought he had the ball. I didn't realize that because the ball was stuck under his spike there.
Yeah, nobody realized it was out of his glove.
But the ball never really transferred. And Miller fires one by Kipnis to run the count 0-2. Brantley, the runner at first base with 2 down. And Kipnis fouls it right back. That fastball from Miller mid-90s. Struck him out. That'll end the inning. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. It's still 3-2 Cleveland. Fenway 3-2. Indians lead the Red Sox as we go to the bottom of the 8th inning. Join us after Indians Live on Sunday for Terry Francona Revealed. It's a new 30-minute special. He'll talk about his passion for the game of baseball, share stories of his life and career path. It's all this Sunday after the game, a special Father's Day edition of Francona Revealed. Dustin Pedroia going to lead things off for the Red Sox here in the bottom of the 8th as Brian Shaw takes aim. He fires it in there high, ball 1. Pedroia led off the 6th with a double. He came around to score the go-ahead run at that point in the game. Two and 0. A little bit outside. 3 balls, no strikes.
That double by Pedroia was his 21st on the year, which puts him 3rd in the league, trailing Plouffe and with Minnesota and Miguel Cabrera with Detroit.
He walked him on 4 straight. Leadoff man aboard for Boston here in the bottom of the 8th. And David Ortiz coming up. Ortiz is 1 for 3 with an RBI double. That was back in the 1st inning. Low ball 1 and out goes Gomes. What happened to Shaw? Came on and got Bogarts in the 7th, but hasn't thrown a strike here in the 8th. And when he pitched yesterday, he went 1/3 of an inning, gave up 2 runs on 2 hits.
Yeah, you get late in this ball game. This is when this crowd starts getting into it. Certainly don't want to give them anything, and they gave up a leadoff base runner.
Two and 0. Did he go? Didn't matter. Called a strike. And a strike, and Mike Napoli waits on deck now. One hop smash. Kipnis has it. Goes to second. Chisenhall kicks the bag and turns a double play. The old 4-5-3 twin killer. And nicely done by the Indians. Sometimes when the shift is on, the double plays, they can be a little unusual.
Well, you got that pitch up a little bit, too, and you can see Kipnis getting it over to Chisenhall. Look at Cabrera. He bit the dust. I mean, he went straight down on his belly.
Push up position.
Yes, indeed. And they get it their 3rd double play of the afternoon. And there you go. 4-5-3. And that takes care of the start of that inning.
And now Mike Napoli 0 for 2 on the day. Walked his last time up. A little bit low, ball 1. line drive, base hit into left field, and Brantley is there to play it back in.
Napoli keeps it going with 2 outs. He got a, I'm not sure if that was just a straight fastball, maybe a little cutter by Shaw, but he gets the base hit. Hit number 9 now for the Red Sox.
Cody Allen has begun to throw in the Indians bullpen alongside left-hander Mark Zipchinski. And a first pitch strike into Gomes, who is 2 for 3 today. He had a hustle infield hit in the 4th, and then his hustle helped beat out a double play and pick up an RBI in that 6th inning. Allen on your left, Zipchinski on your right. Zipchinski's ready. He's been throwing, but probably only see him if Pierzynski gets to the plate.
You're right.
Gomes pops it up, should get him out of the inning here. Kipnis under it, calling for it. He's got it, and the inning is over. Brian Shaw gets through the 8th, pulls the Red Sox off the board. It stays 3-2 Cleveland. Stay tuned for Indians Live, brought to you by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care, coming up after the ballgame here on Sports Time Ohio. Koji Uehara coming on here in the 9th for Boston. He's the Red Sox closer. John Farrell wants to make sure his team has a chance in the bottom of the 9th, so he wants his best guy on the hill here.
Keep it right where it is. Of course, the Indians would love to try and add on here. Been a tough day as far as they've left 13 runners on board. Been able to get the hit with a runner in scoring position. They've done a good job keeping it down there. The Red Sox 2 runs on 9 hits.
Lonnie Chisenhall going to lead it off. He's 0 for 2 with a pair of walks. All to strike. Yeah, Rick, you talk about the hits with runners in scoring position. The Indians are 0 for 10. Boston is 0 for 7.
Yeah, nobody can cash in today. Uehara pitched an inning in this series, and He had one strikeout. He's a two-pitch guy. He's the splitter and his 88-mile-an-hour fastball. And he comes out to face Chisholm, 3 straight splitters.
Chisenhall punches one in the air to right field. And Brock Holt will make the catch. Looking back at our keys to the game, brought to you by Akron Children's Hospital. It was a grind today for the Indians against Jake Peavy. They weren't able to do much. And I thought TJ House acquitted himself quite nicely. Probably could have stayed in the game longer, but Terry Francona wanted to get into some matchups in that 6th inning with right-handed hitting Mike Napoli coming up.
Yeah, House did a nice job. Absolutely. You come in here, your first start in this ballpark as a left-hander, and the Red Sox hit left-handers much better than they do righties. They did a good job.
As a closer, Koji Uehara with that 2-pitch mix, the fastball and the splitter. So remind me a little bit of Doug Jones, and that not an overpowering fastball, obviously, but that splitter, and his splitter is so baffling. It's almost like a changeup because it just dies. It never gets there.
It's that good, and he has such good control. With Doug Jones, he had like 2 or 3 different speeds on his changeup, you know, and he wouldn't throw many fastballs. When he did, it would look like it was 95 miles an hour because his changeup was that good. So this guy's the same way. You can see his grip with the split. It's almost like a forkball.
Watch this swing by Swisher. It just,
you know, you think it's going to get there, and it just never does.
Yeah.
You can't pick it up, and that's what's made him so great in the last couple of years, especially here.
And again, when you've got almost 10 miles an hour separation, 88, 89, you can throw it right by him.
Yeah, because that off-speed pitch is so good. But I think they both look the same, no matter, you know, where he's coming from.
Strikes him out. 2 down. I'm sure sometimes people watching on TV going, how in the world do they swing and miss? Because it looks like it's right down the middle, but you don't get the appreciation for how it's the deception of the, you know, the
same
velocity.
as his fastball, and if you think it's getting there, you don't pick up that rotation on it, and it just never gets there. And then you see the fastball right there at 89, and they're late. Yeah. You know, because you have doubt in your mind as a hitter. What's he going to throw? It's a 50-50. You almost have to sit on one of the 2 pitches. Well, you're saying, okay, I'm going to sit on the splitter, but you're still out in front of it.
And it seems like when he does throw his fastball, he's not throwing it in the hot zone.
Right. It's not middle of the plate. Correct. He's just.
And there's the splitter. Just whoop, the bottom falls right out of it at the last 2 or 3 feet. And Murphy goes down chasing. Indians go 1-2-3. It's up to Cody Allen. Can Chicken Al save the day? We'll be back to find out next. Continues through Father's Day tomorrow. Make your pledge by going online to homerunchallenge.org. Cody Allen, the pitch here in the bottom of the ninth. He's got the 7, 8, 9 hitters due up for the Red Sox. We get a pinch hitter in the on-deck circle for Jonathan Herrera. Looks like Daniel Nava. In the meantime, Cody Allen will try to save it for Cleveland. His 33rd appearance of the year, 2 wins, a loss, an ERA of 3 straight up. Walked 12, struck out 34 in his 27 innings of work. And 6 out of 7 in save opportunities.
Allen came in and pitched an inning in yesterday's game. That's the first time he's been in 5 days. He's come up to face Brzezinski. 7, 8, and 9.
Swung on and missed. Brzezinski chased one high. He is a notorious first ball swinger.
Yes, he is. And he likes the ball down and in. He will get after you in a hurry. He's looking for that first fastball.
Swung on and missed. And a piece of it, 0-2. Indians trying to snap a 4-game losing streak. Get back to within a game of the 500 mark. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. 1 down here in the ninth.
I like that. He elevated the fastball. High fastball on Brzezinski. He's not going to get on top of it. He likes it down. Challenged him at the letters, and it's tough to lay off of, and you can see he couldn't catch up to it. Great pitch there by Allen. Nava pinch hitting.
Nava switch hitter, bats left-handed.
He's 0 for 2 as a pinch hitter this year, but he's always hit the Indians well. His highest batting average against the Indians of any other team. You can see a 447 hitter in his 15 games.
2 hits last night. Looked pretty good. 2-0. There's a strike.
Nice.
Count 2-1.
He didn't give in right there. 2-0. Comes back with a curveball and dropped it in there. Very nice. There it is. Just get me over, baby.
And the 2-1. Fastball low. Cody Allen ready now with a 3-1 pitch. And a foul right back, full count. 37,181. Huge sellout here at Fenway. 3-2, Indians lead it here in bottom of the ninth. Now the sends one to center field where Michael Bourne makes the grab, 2 down. That'll leave it up to Jackie Bradley Jr. A reminder, we'll be on the air tomorrow with Indians Live at 1 o'clock. First pitch at 1:30 tomorrow. A little different start time on a Sunday afternoon, 1:30. First pitch action. Indians Red Sox wrapping up the series on Father's Day. Hope you make your plans to be with us. Dustin Pedroia and the Red Sox down to their final out.
A couple of nice curveballs, huh? He's got a good feel for it today, so why not get after it? He dropped 2 in a row in there, and now he's got Bradley down in the count, 0-2.
The 0-2 offering is swung out and missed. Gomes flips it to first, and the game is over, and so is the Indians' losing streak. Tribe wins it by a final score of 3-2. They get back to within a game of 500 with a 34-35 record now. Red Sox fall to 31-37. Winning pitcher for the Indians will be John Axford. And for Axford, his record goes to 2-3 on the year. Saved to Cody Allen, his 7th. And let's see, the losing pitcher today is going to be Craig Breslow, and he falls to 2-2 on the season. So good win for the Indians. Fenway has been a tough place for them to play of late.
Yes.
They've lost, 8 of their last 9.
Correct.
Coming in, but they fight hard, and they really had to earn it here today. Time now for our key play of the game, brought to you by KeyBank.
Well, it's going to be in the 7th inning, an opportunity the Indians to score again. Instead of going for the double play, he throws it home, and he does not come up with the ball. A.J. Brzezinski left the ball out of the glove. They had him out at home plate. That tied the game right there. They ended up getting a walk after that. That'll be the key play of the game, brought to you by KeyBank.
Jason Kipnis going to join Katie Witham on Indians Live. It's coming up next. Kipnis had 3 hits today, helping the Tribe to this 3-2 win. Stay tuned for Indians Live. It's coming up next.